All right. Hello, everybody. It's the Meista. Cheers. I am very, very excited today. I am chatting with the one and only, the legendary bass player, death metal bass player, Mark Van Erp. Thank you so much for joining me today, sir.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Wow, this is great. And of course, you've played with, some legendary bands over the years, starting with Cynic and Malevolent Creation, Monstrosity, Solstice. And you've been playing with even though you're not necessarily a full member of the band, you've been playing live with Monstrosity for a number of years and currently still play with them, correct?
That's correct. I did a show with them in 2010. I did it on the 70,000 tons in 2015.
No, nice.
We did LA in 2018. Brooklyn in 2020, and we did Atlanta a few months ago, Mexico City in December, and we will see everybody at MDF this weekend.
Yeah, that's really cool news. I wish I was going to be there. I have never made it out to the Maryland Death Metal Fest, and I've always wanted to.
Yeah, it's going to be, it seems like a 90s death metal class reunion with all the bands that are from that era that are playing there this weekend. So yeah. Really excited to see Atheist, really excited to see, a lot of bands that are playing this weekend. So
yeah,
be good.
Yeah, like you said, it's cool because it's kind of this 90s, like bands that haven't played for.
I mean, like you got Cancer, and I don't know, the list goes on and on, but there's lots of bands that it should be good, man.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's really exciting. And are there anything after that? Anything lined up after the Maryland Death Fest?
At this point, no. We're currently working on new material.
Oh,
actually.
Wow, cool.
Yeah. I hesitate to say, but I believe that the drums have already been recorded. So
wow.
That's about all I can say.
Gotcha. Cool. That's really exciting news. That's it's been a while since the Monstrosity album came out.
Yeah, the last one was just 2018, I believe. The Passage of Existence came out in 2018, I believe it was.
Yeah,
I might be mistaken. It might have been this year before, but yeah, it's nice to be back playing with Lee and the fellas.
Yeah, that's really cool.
He's a phenomenal drummer. He's one of those guys you never have to worry about.
Right. Yeah. And the two of you together, I mean, what a monstrous rhythm section right there. Legendary death metal. I mean, you helped invent the genre. I mean, you guys.
Well, I mean, that's a bold statement, but I mean, we were all influenced by those that came before us in one shape or another. But it's. I'm just, I'm real fortunate to still be doing it when you think about all the people we've lost, that weren't able to be playing a show at age 55.
Yeah, that's great.
Cool. So I have to feel nothing but fortunate. So
yeah, that's very cool. I wanted to ask you, I wanted to go back in time and talk to you about, kind of those early days. So for if my memory serves correctly, which being in my 50s as well, sometimes it doesn't. But
I hear you.
So if I remember correctly, you when you started playing originally in the late 80s, kind of mid to late 80s, you were in both Cynic and Malevolent Creation kind of at the same time, right? You were kind of doing kind of double play.
It was never at the same time.
Oh, okay.
We met the Malevolent fellows. I was still in Cynic, and we met the Malevolent guys, and we set up a show in Coconut Grove. I believe it was the first gig Malevolent ever played in Florida, if I remember correctly. And so we became friendly and stuff, and as things progressed, Paul and Sean, geniuses that they were kind of taking the progressive metal thing to the whole new other extreme. And I kind of still wanted to grind, you know what I mean?
Right.
And, play some stuff that's just a little bit more, I don't know, raw and guttural, and but they were kind of going in a different direction, and so that's and Tony Choi was a familiar face around our practice spot, and he was an up and coming bass player, and they were kind of, you know, moving in the same direction. So they made the switch there. And it wasn't, when I left Cynic, I believe April of, I want to say 89, it might've been 89. I'm not exactly sure, April 89. But I mean, by that fall, I had started playing with Malevolent.
Cool.
I went back to New York for some legal issues. And once I was, you know, free again, I came back down to Florida and joined Malevolent. So
cool. Nice.
and I was just there for about a year.
Yeah,
and
those
Lee
great
was
demos.
leaving Malevolent just as I was joining Malevolent, so we
Oh,
kind of
really?
waved to each other on our way out. On my way in, and he was on his way out. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So just circumstances, you know. But we had become friends, and so, you know, after my year with Malevolent, and they decided to replace me, you know, I got on the horn with Lee, and he was already in communication with George Fisher. So you know, we made it happen. You know, George came down, the lead came down. I was living in Fort Lauderdale, and we had, you know, I had a decent sized house, so everybody moved in, and we went to work. You know,
Nice. And then of course
George would go back and forth. You'd come down for a few weeks, and then go back to Baltimore, and come down for a few weeks, go back to Baltimore. But me and Lee were, you know, we were living together there, so that's where, you know, most of the stuff from the Imperial Doom album was written.
Oh yeah, and yeah, what a great album that was. And you know, I mean, just, you know, groundbreaking really in a lot of ways, and really eye-opening, I think, for a lot of us as metalheads. You know, that was such a profound album. So as far as the writing, was that a lot of, it sounds like it was a lot of the music was you and Lee then kind of coming up.
Well, yeah, like the first three songs from the demo were just me and Lee wrote together. The Definitive Inquisition, Immense Malignancy, Burden of Evil, that was just written with drums. Well, Lee, as you know, plays guitar, you know, so he's always been a oasis of riffs, you know. So I mean, we just put our, you know, stuff together, and that's what we came up with. And of course, you know, as luck would have it, John Rubin was freshly kicked out of Malevolent Creation. So we collared him and brought him in the mix. And, you know, we had tried out a couple different guitar players, you know, when it was just me and Lee, you know, and actually we had tried out a couple different singers too before George could really commit to come down. But obviously that ended up happening. So, but yeah, then we played our first gig as Monstrosity, opening for Massacre, believe it or not.
Oh, interesting. Wow.
Yeah, with Cam Lee, and I believe Rick Ross was playing with them at that time.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that was our first gig as Monstrosity.
Cool. Wow, what a great show that would have been. You know, Massacre.
There was like nobody there, man.
Really?
If I remember correctly, it was very, very, very slim crowd, you know. You know, this was 1990, I guess, probably, yeah, because I left Malevolent in November of 1990, and you know, we had or 89, or was it 90? I don't know. It was, you know, within 6 months of getting together, we put out the demo and basically had a deal from Nuclear Blast. We had some interest with Roadrunner because, you know, we had James Murphy came down and was going to play as second guitar player.
Oh, wow.
And Monty Connor was kind of interested if James was going to be in the band, you know, he had some interest in signing Monstrosity. But, you know, James came down for a couple of rehearsals, and then, you know, for one reason or another, he didn't want to come back. So I don't really know what the story was with that, but, you know, we ended up signing with Nuclear Blast.
Yeah, and of course created the brilliant legendary album, you know, Imperial Doom. which is
Yeah, we had there's Jay Goebel from Cynic, played on it, as
yeah.
And he did a lot of tasty solo work, I thought, in some things that but there were a lot of mistakes on that album. It's just, you can only do so much with what you're budgeted.
Right.
So.
Well, I think it came out great, and I mean, I think it set the stage for so many other bands to there's so many bands that emulated that album and that sound at that time, of course. I was curious about how did George get involved? Did you guys know George, or kind of how did he get involved?
Lee and George met at a show, I believe, in Jersey, and they hit it off and kept in touch. And when Lee, after I left Malevolent and I got in contact with Lee, he was like, yeah, well, he's like, well, I'm trying to get something going with this guy George from Baltimore. And so I was like, look, I got space here at this house in Lauderdale that I was, we were renting with my girlfriend. So I invited the fellows to come down because there was an issue with, where's everybody going to stay? We're so, but you do what you got to do. So come on down, fellas, So I moved George and Lee into the house. So, and then we soundproofed one of the bedrooms and, went to work.
Cool. That's cool. That's amazing. I love that.
In those days, there was nothing was going to stand in our way. You know what I mean? It was from high speed dubbing cassette tapes, one at a time, to send demos to just about every fucking address you could find that was metal related. You know what I mean?
Right.
So
did you have a sense at that time that you kind of were on the cusp of something big? Did you have a feeling like this
we started getting some really positive feedbacks on the demo, and that helped, and we did some shows. We did a bunch of shows that we got good responses from. We'd done a show in Orlando in '92. It was somewhat of a festival. Deicide played, Hellwitch played, Pantera played. I want to say Nuclear Assault played too, but I think it might have been Brutal Truth. I remember I got to use Danny Loker's rig, which was cool because one of the guys, my basic rig got left behind, so I showed up at the gig without a rig, and and Danny Loker was cool enough to just offer me his shit like it was no big deal, and I was forever eternally grateful for that. But,
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it was. But that was a really good show for us. Place was pretty packed. So looking back, anyway, at those years, but we played whenever we could. The Brass Mug, was still there. Or that was a place we played often. So. And tape trading, it's not like now with the internet and shit, everything was snail mail, what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was, it was more time consuming, like I said, high speed dubbing cassette tapes and sending them, all over the world. And, now you're getting demo orders in the mail too. Now you've got to mail stuff out and stuff. I mean, Lee's parents were very instrumental in taking care of like a lot of that type of stuff. Lee's mom was Lee's mom was very much supportive of Lee's endeavors musically.
That's cool.
So. As opposed to my parents who didn't want to hear that shit at all. What I'm saying?
I get that. I know what that is. I yeah, my mom would always say, like, why are these boys from Florida, why are they so angry? They live in the sun. Why are they so mad? Like,
yeah, exactly. So
right. Yeah, I always thought that was funny. So I got to ask you a question. I had read somewhere that, and maybe this is bullshit. I don't know. But I'm really curious if this is true.
That is probably true.
Yeah. Well, no, is there, I had heard that, I had read somewhere that there's an unreleased Monstrosity album that you played on from like, I don't know, like 2010 or something like that. Is that accurate?
There was some rehearsal recordings that Lee did that were, I believe, on a bonus track of a CD.
Okay.
Yeah. If it's something from 2010, I think Lee recorded a rehearsal and had it mixed down and mastered, and I think it's like bonus tracks on a CD somewhere.
Okay.
I don't want to give you bad information, but
yeah,
as far as an unreleased album, no.
Okay.
Like, and anything that it was on, it was just rehearsal, and it was stuff that's already been recorded. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Okay. I read some article and it didn't seem accurate, but I thought, well, I should go to the source. I should ask the source.
Like I said, there was a live rehearsal or something like that was recorded, but
okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
So around the same time, like I guess it would have been around that same time as that concert you were just talking about, you joined Solstice as well. Maybe the timeline's different, but and of course,
it's pretty much right around that time. I was always friendly with Rob Barrett. He's just one of those guys that it's a pleasure to be around, and he was really, really good to. He actually played with. He actually played bass for Monstrosity when I ended up getting arrested when we had a gig in Boga to Columbia, and he had to go in my absence.
Oh wow!
Rob Barrett played the bass, yeah. So I mean, and he also played guitar on a couple of Monstrosity gigs. Actually, the one that I was just talking about in Orlando, he was our good second guitar player for that gig. So we were very friendly, and he had been working with Alex Marquez and Dennis Munzio there on that Solstice project, and so they asked me to come in on it, and I was living in Lauderdale at the time, but they were practicing in Miami, so I'd make the trek down there once a week and rehearse with them, and we ended up we recorded it with Scott Burns at Morris Sound.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite. That's still one of my favorite albums, man. It's the writing, Barrett's and Alex's writing on that album is really, really good. I really like it.
Stuff. Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
And I think the rhythm section, you and Alex together is.
Yeah, Andro's a heavy hitter for sure.
Yeah, he's a monster, man. But I mean, just those you two together it's such a pure sound. It's a thing of beauty.
It's unfortunate to get a chance to play with those guys again, but they as they continued on in in other ways, shapes, and forms. I guess Alex is a little fucked up now with his feet, so I mean
it's sad.
Hopefully he's doing all right though.
Yeah, I talked to him a while ago and he seemed okay, but he's, I don't know. Yeah, it sucks because he's just had some health issues, and he's such a great musician, and it's sad to see that he's not playing, really that much anymore, which is too bad.
Yeah, I mean, which takes me back to what I was saying earlier about being fortunate enough to do this at this age, you know what I mean? So
right.
It's something you can't take for granted.
Yeah, definitely. So take me way back. How did you first get into music? When did that start? Did you start as a bass player?
Well, I was always mystified by musicians, as a young kid, and I had older brother, who had the Beatles albums and this and that, and then Rush, I had Rush 2112 on an 8-track, you know what I mean? That's how old this was, back in like 78, when it first came out. Well, my brother had it. I boosted it from him, you know what I mean? So, but that was, Zeppelin, In Through the Outdoor, that album. I mean, just fuck, Meatloaf even, you know what I mean? Believe it or not. I mean, just I was young. So, I mean, and then, my first concert, shamefully, was Kiss, but I'm not a big Kiss fan, these days, but that was my first concert. And it was just, there was something magical about it, you know what I mean, to me. So, and I just, there's a desire to know how this is being done, you know what I mean?
Right.
To hear something and say, I got to know how to do that, you know what I mean?
Cool.
That's the best way I can explain it.
Did you gravitate to the bass initially, or?
I tried to play guitar, but my hands were so big that I had a really extremely hard time fingering chords. So being impatient like I was, I said, oh, there's a 4-string version of this? That sounds better for me, and of course cool. it was. So, I took a couple lessons at the local music shop, which, come to find out, everything they were teaching me was wrong years later. But I mean, and then, similar kids at high school, other bands that were getting together and, bouncing ideas and, oh, I learned how to play Train Kept a Rollin', check this out. Or I learned how to play Sunshine of Your Love, or here's fucking Iron Man, or, what, like, once again, it's not like today where you can just turn on the computer and you have every fucking tablature ever, at your fingertips. So learning stuff, I remember when Guitar Player magazine started putting tablature in their magazines, it was like, oh my God, they're showing us how to play shit.
Yeah.
Just things that you take for granted nowadays,
Right.
So, I mean, all those things involved just made it that much more appealing, because you had to really put yourself out there to progress, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, totally. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, it was. Yeah, you just put on the record and try to figure it out. Like, okay, what are they doing?
Which I had really bad with luck with that. I remember trying to figure out Godzilla from Blue Oyster Cult for the longest time. There was that little bass solo in the interlude. I must have spent a month trying to figure that shit out. Never do it. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, now, of course, I'm sure I probably could, but
yeah,
well, maybe not. I don't know.
Nah, I think you'd kill it. Yeah, I think you'd
well, and then of course, my brother came home with, Killers, the Iron Maiden's second album. He bought it just because of the cover, which.
Right.
So, and I remember hearing that for the first time, and being like, wow. I thought to myself, the production was, the sound of it sounded, different from like, Zeppelin or Rush. It wasn't as polished, you know what I mean? It was just kind of raw, and just like, at first I didn't really like it, but then I started listening to more and more of it. And then, the bass, of course, so then I became the ridiculous Iron Maiden fan that had to have every picture disc and every fucking t-shirt and every, and true story. I once stole a car because I had tickets to Maiden and I had no ride. And I stole a car and went to the fucking show. And we got to the show, and with my buddy, who's still a very good friend of mine today, we got to the show and we left the car running with the tunes on and the doors open. You just left it there. Sure enough, we after the show, we still have no ride, but Jesus Christ, there's the car sitting there with the doors open, the tunes on, still running. The same car, It must have been destiny. So we got in it and managed to make it home and parked it up the street from his house, and it sat there for about 2 months before the screws probably towed it away.
Wow, that's crazy. That is.
Well, I'm not proud of it, but it did happen, and just an example of the desire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna be. Yngwie Malmsteen was opening for Iron Maiden. How the fuck do you miss that in 1987, or it might have been 86? So,
oh wow.
Where? It was 86.
What venue was that?
It was called the RPI Fieldhouse in Albany, New York. Who knows what it is today, but that's what it was then.
Cool. I bet that was an amazing show. I bet that was killer.
Yeah, it was. I got to meet Wally Voss. It was right after Yngwie was touring for the Trilogy album, which was his third album. And Wally Voss was his bass player, who was an amazing bass player, and he actually passed away. He's not with us anymore. But I got to meet him, and we got to talk bass for a few minutes, and that was huge for me.
That's cool.
So that alone was worth stealing the car.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I never got caught for it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So.
I love that. That's amazing. You know, obviously mentioned several bands, but I was curious as far as bassists, like who were kind of your big influences?
Well, Steve
those
Harris,
early-
Kenny Lee, Chris Squire, Peter Steele. Not so much for his bass playing, but just for his fucking attitude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've always been a huge Carnivore fan, you know, and I you know, I always liked his playing, like on the Retaliation album. It's just so raw, you know what I mean? It's just that, you know, if you can't eat it or fuck it, then kill it attitude, you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
That's Pete Steele, you know. So
Yeah.
another one gone too soon, you know what I mean? So
Definitely.
at 41
Yeah, that
years
guy
old,
was.
you know.
Yeah.
Here I am, 55, talking about it. So once again, blessed, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a sad day when he
It really was. It really was.
And that guy was a visionary. He had such a different perception of yeah, just his approach to music, and like you said, his attitude. You know, he had just
yeah.
And then apparently just the nicest guy in the world. From I never met him, but I've heard he's.
No, I came close. I hung out with the drummer Johnny for a while at a gig in Tampa, but I never got to meet Pete. But he did thank us on the Bloody Kisses album. He thanked Solstice because we covered "Suck My Dick."
Oh yeah,
on the Solstice album. So
yeah,
he did see us a thanks, which used. You know, that was nice to see that. So
yeah, that's cool. That is great. That is great. I love that. I love that. Nice. So I was curious. I'm always curious about musicians and what they listen to, and you know, and we've talked about your influences. I was curious, like, you know, like who are there any newer bands that you listen to now, or is you know, anything that grabs you, the kind of the younger generation of death metal and thrash metal, anything that you're interested in at this point?
That's a tough question. I mean, it's always you know, a breath of fresh air to see new bands, you know, young guys, 19, 20, 21, 22, you know, hard at work, you know, pumping out music, you know, and, you know, keeping it going, you know, and, but as far as like stuff that I would listen to on a regular, I normally listen to whatever it is I'm working on, you know,
okay.
Like, currently I'm listening to, you know, new Monstrosity tracks, you know.
Okay.
Even if I'm not sitting down with the bass, when I go to work, I listen to it, you know, and just, you know, come up with bass lines in my head while I'm listening, you know.
Cool.
Because, you know, after, you know, 40 plus years of playing, I can pretty much hear something in my head and know how to put it out on the bass, you know what I mean? So I do a lot of listening to you know, whatever stuff I'm working on, you know. That's pretty much what I listen to, you know.
Nice.
I also I'm currently, you know, I got a lot of local friends up here that, you know, we're doing a Stones tribute. I'm playing keyboards, play piano. I play piano as well, you know.
Oh, cool. I did not know that.
Well, I mean, it's not something you know, I do a lot. I mean, I do play a lot, but as far as like playing out or anything like that, you know, but just some for fun, you know, with some local friends of mine, you know, but we're doing it. We're going guerrilla on this one. We got, you know, we got the three chicks and the silver dances doing backups. We got a horn section,
Oh,
know,
wow.
Yeah, you know, two guitars, you know, we're doing the full band, you know what I mean? So there's a festival here in New York, Mazstock Festival, MAZZ stock, that happens here every year, and it's put on by some very close friends of mine. And you know, it's a 3-day thing, and you know, we're always doing something there, you know. We're something I was, you know, is my roots are in metal and stuff, but I appreciate and enjoy all forms of music, you know what I mean, all different genres, you know. If it's good, you know, if it makes me want to hear it again, you know, it's worth my time to you know, check shit out, you know. So I play all kinds of different shit, you know. done a Chili Pepper tribute. I've done a
wow.
Pearl Jam tribute. I did, you know, I mean,
Wow.
just good friends are in the area, you know, guys I've known 15, 20 years, you know, it's just, you know, fucking Ralph and Ed like to go bowling at the fucking Elks Lodge. You know, I like to go have some beers and play some music with some friends of mine, you know, it's just,
you can't go wrong there.
Yeah. And then, you know, I get to get my grind on with the fellas down south. So it works out.
Cool. That sounds nice. That sounds like a good life. That sounds pretty good.
It's music, man. You know, it's without that, where would we be, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we wouldn't be talking. Probably.
That's true.
Cool. Well, Mark, this has been an absolute pleasure chatting with you this afternoon.
Yeah, man.
It's been really fun. So for everybody watching, you know, definitely, if you're able to, I wish I could check out Monstrosity playing next weekend at the Maryland Death Fest.
Well, I'll tell you what, it seems like,
weekend.
you know, every time we do a show, it seems like it's on YouTube the next day, or at least part of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the Mexico show's on YouTube, the one in California's on YouTube, the one in New York's on YouTube. So I would think, you know, we're playing Friday around 6:30. We're playing after Atheist and before Suffocation, I think, or I might be mistaken.
Wow.
But yeah, we play Friday night at 6:30 or some shit. So.
Wow.
Yeah, if you're in the area, come out, man. We're looking forward to it. I am prepared.
Yeah, that sounds so great. That sounds so cool. Well, Mark, thank you.
No problem.